and that the rest of the members that have been in the different forums, they already know what we are about to share. But I think this is for the benefit of the larger group on the travel consolidation. So just as a recap, as part of the UNAID initiatives, the Secretary General decided to consolidate travel across the Secretariat, right? And this travel consolidation is being done in two phases. Phase one started from when the memo was signed. I think that was about 2 months ago, or a month and a half ago, until 2026, the 31st December 2026. That's the expected end of phase one. And in phase two, it's supposed to start from 2027 onwards. Now, what happens in phase one, as you might know, is that they have allowed entities to consolidate within their own entities. Like in our case, UNODC is going to consolidate within ourselves, and as part of the consolidation as well, we have been asked to reduce the number of TPAs and the number of TPOs, meaning that the offices that have been processing travel are going to be reduced. In our case, we are going to reduce them to 4 hubs, right? So we have the hub in Bogota, which is what we are discussing now. Another hub in. Let me just share my screen so that you can some of the information you can read it for yourself. Just 1 minute. Okay, so I hope you can see my screen. Sorry. Yes. So as part of phase one, this consolidation is collating travels in the 4 hubs. The hub in Bangkok, which takes care of the Asia Pacific region, and then the Bogota for the Latin American region. Cairo is for the Middle East, and then Vienna, which takes care of the Europe and the Africa region. Phase two is going to go a step further, consolidating the travel across the Secretariat in about 5 hubs. So some of the hubs that we have now are going to disappear in phase two. For example, like the hub in Bogota in phase two, if it goes through, then it will be consolidated with the New York hub. So travel services for the whole of Americas, both the South America and North America, is going to be consolidated in New York, right? Again, as part of phase one and phase two, the number of TMCs are going to be, that's the travel management companies, right, are going to be reduced with the end state of 10 for the entire Secretariat in phase two. So that's the aim. They want to make sure that only 10 service providers are contracted with a view to easily manage them in terms of contract management, but also benefit from negotiated transaction fees, but also discounts, airline discounts. So it's easier to manage the TMCs when they are few, but also they want to make sure that the TMCs that are contracted are following the Secretariat travel rules. Because experience has shown that some of the TMCs that are providing services to the Secretariat entities, not only UNODC, but other entities as well, they are not necessarily compliant with the Secretariat travel rules. So that's that on the network. The next thing that we are looking at now is we want to reduce the number of TPAs. Let me just go to the slide. Yes, so we want to reduce the number of TPAs to 2 in Bogota Colombia, right? As you can see here, this is just a proposal to have one in Bogota, one in Panama. But maybe before I go that, this is let me see the number of TPAs. So this is a list of TPAs that we have. We have 9 TPAs at the moment for the entire region, right? We have 2 Bogota, and then 3 Brasilia, 1 Mexico, and 3 Panama City. So we want to reduce the number of TPAs from this 9 to 2. How you decide which two are going to remain with the TPA TV10 role, that's entirely up to the offices in collaboration with DO. You decide and you propose to us, okay, these are the people that are going to remain with the TV10 role. And therefore, the rest of the TPAs are going to be deprovisioned, right? That's part of the process. That's the first step. The second step will be that each office will continue to provide non-commercial travel, because the 2 TPAs that we are looking at are only processing commercial travels, right? Where a ticket is issued and paid for. Non-commercial travels are going to be processed using a different module, that's TV20, and each office is expected to nominate 1 person to be provided that role and process the non-commercial travels. The other thing is that the TPA, the TPA with the TV10 role is going to be a full-time TPA, right? Meaning that it's going to be a total departure from what is happening now, where the TPAs have other substantive roles to play. But the newly provisioned TV10 role holders will only focus on processing travel requests, nothing else, right? Full-time TPAs. But the TV20 holders, the ones who will be processing non-commercial travel, there's no restriction on being full-time, so they can be assigned other duties as well on top of the TV20 role. I see there's a hand here. Is it Kathleen? Yes, Kathleen. You want to ask something?
Yeah, sorry to jump in before you finish, but I just maybe at this moment wanted to ask for clarity, because I think since the beginning we have been told that the core functions would sit in ROCOL, but that ROPAN would be asked to have a backup function. And I'm just trying to understand what that means in very practical terms, whether we need to have somebody who is supporting day to day. From what you just said, we're limited to 2 roles. And I think from the expectation of having a backup, that would imply 3 roles, including this one that is a backup. So just to get your understanding on what a backup role means and what that means in terms of capacity, if that person can have 100% additional roles and are just providing backup functions while others are on leave, or whether it implies full-time work as a TPO. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen. Yes, that's a good question. Now, I don't want us to use the word backup, because the TPA with TV10 roles are going to be full-time TPAs, right? So no one is backing up the other. They are all doing the work, right? Vienna TPO has been designated as a primary backup for all the hubs, not only for the hub in the Southern Americas, but all the other hubs. Vienna is the primary backup. So again, whether one person will be physically located in Ropan, another person physically located in Brazil, in Colombia, that's entirely a decision that the offices have to make. They are all we need is just suggestions to, okay, these are the names that have been assigned as full-time TPAs, and then the roles will be provided. So we can provide some sort of guidance in terms of who should be having this role, right? Ideally, the person should be up to G6 level, right? But also you look at the skill sets. If a person is already so good at approving the travels, they might be a potential candidate to be provided that role on a full-time basis. But then what that means is that they will not be combining that role with the other roles that they're currently having. So again, it's a decision that DO and the offices have to make, and we'll be happy to provide the TV10 roles. Right? I hope I answered your question. So I was just emphasizing the point that the TV20 is not as restrictive as the TV10 role in terms of being a full-time person. So they can combine the TV20 role with other duties as well, because their role is just to process the non-commercial travel, right? Moving on, again, we are looking at reducing the number of TMCs. If I look at your region, the number of TMCs, there are quite a number of them. Let me see where is Bogota. Okay, here we are. Looks like you have about seven TMCs, right? 2 in Bogota, 1 in Brasilia, another one shows in Lima, 2 in Mexico, and 1 in Panama. I don't know how up to date this data is, but like I said at the beginning, we have a colleague who has been tasked to reach out to you to review these TMCs. Some of them probably, will have to be retained. Some will not be retained. But we want to work with as few TMCs as possible, right? I know for a fact that the TMC in Brasilia will have to be retained because, from what we understand, there are some local regulations where a ticket cannot be issued outside the country. So definitely that TMC will have to be retained. But my colleague is going to reach out and share the criteria for which to review, make the decision as to which TMCs we'll be working with. So that criteria plus your experience of working with TMCs will determine which ones we keep and which ones we let go, right? And then in terms of the way forward, so what is happening right now is that we have worked on a model, an operating model, which is on a cost recovery basis, meaning that each tier is going to be subjected. That's the commercial travel. Each tier is going to be subjected to a cost recovery rate. Those decisions have not yet been approved by senior management from DM and DO. And once that is done, then of course we'll go ahead and start the implementation. However, on the parallel, we want to emphasize a few points that I've listed down here. I already mentioned that you need to confirm to us the TPAs that should be provisioned, the TV10 row. The rest of them will be deprovisioned. Again, you also confirm to us the people who should be having a TV20 row, which is a non-commercial travel, and they'll be deprovisioned the TV10, and then if it's the same people, and then be provisioned the TV20. I'm talking about communication here because I think it's critical that we send the right messages to the people so that they understand why we are doing what we are doing, why we are deprovisioning the TV10, and why are we provisioning them the TV20. Very important. Again, we need to confirm the TMCs that we're going to be working with. And the full-time TPAs will have access to all the TMCs, meaning that it doesn't matter whether someone is sitting in Panama, they can still issue a ticket out of Brazil because they'll be mapped to the TMC in Brazil. the person is sitting in Bogota as well, or whichever location that you guys decide, will be mapped to all the TMCs that are going to be retained in this region, and therefore they should be able to issue a ticket regardless of where they're sitting, right? So that's the whole idea. It could be possible that you decide we don't want to lose any of the current TPAs because their skill sets are, on the substantive side. You might have to do a recruitment of a full-time TPA, so that their job is just to do travel request, approval of travel requests. Here, I'm just saying that if you are going that route of recruitment, our suggestion is that since this is a relatively short-term project, you might have to consider, a fixed term with limited duration or a TJO, so that when phase one ends and then we're moving to phase two, that TPO office is no longer required, then the person can be let go. Yeah. And then the next thing that we're going to do is obviously training the TPS on their new roles, the TV10 and the TV20, but also a refresher training for TSS. Oh, this is a new model. It has a budgetary impact, so they have to know and understand that the cost recovery is having an impact on their budget, and as they're approving the travels, they should have that in mind. We're also going to do refresher trainings for the TMCs that are going to be retained to continue providing services to the region. We are also developing some standardized process flows and performance metrics. And this performance metrics is basically just to give us an idea of how the workload is performing, so that we can make adjustments where it's necessary. And obviously, we're going to do some periodic reviews. Earlier on, I talked about the cost recovery. The periodic reviews and the performance metrics are going to inform us whether we need to adjust the cost recovery, because the way it has been designed is that the money that is going to be collected from the cost recovery will be used to pay for the staff costs of the TPAs that are part of this project. And if the money is not enough, obviously we have to do an increase so that we cover for the deficit. If it's significant too much, then obviously we have to adjust the cost recovery rate so that it's within the expected cost range. So in brief, that's what we are planning to do, and that's where we are. And just before I close, some of the questions that we have been asked before. The question on whether the TPS will be full-time, yes. With the TPS full-time, yes. The TPS with TV10 role will be full-time TPS. The TPS with TV20 role, the non-commercial, don't have to be full-time, right? Will the TPS with TV10 role be processing non-commercial travels as well? The answer is no. The TP10 holders will only focus on commercial travel because of the way the model has been designed, has been calculated. It will not be possible for them to combine the commercial and non-commercial travel, and that's the reason why separate individuals will have to be identified to be doing the non-commercial travel. The other question that we got asked was, will cost recovery apply to both commercial and non-commercial travel? The answer is no. Cost recovery will only apply to the commercial travel. It will not apply to the non-commercial travel. What will happen if one of the TPAs is away on leave? I think basically that's what Kathleen was asking. The way we have designed it, Vienna has been designated as a primary backup office for all the hubs. So even if one of the two TPAs in your region is away on leave, rest assured that there'll be continuity of service, because Vienna is going to step in and assist with the processing of the TRS. The other question that we kept being asked was, how do we know which TPA to maintain and which one to provision? Again, the decision is entirely yours, in collaboration with DO, which TPAs you want to retain, or whether you want to do recruit a separate person to be a TPA. Again, that's your decision. But we have provided guidance. We can provide guidance on who you can assign as a full-time TPA. How do we know which TMCs to work with? Yeah, I'll also mention that in passing, that we are developing some criteria which we're going to share with you. But we're also going to rely on the experience, your experience with working with the TMCs, which will inform the decision as to which TMCs we'll be working with and which ones we will stop working with going forward. With the exception of the TMC in Brazil, at least that's the one that I know, that definitely that one will have to be retained because of the local regulations. Let me stop there and invite questions, comments you might have. Or let me check with my colleagues if they have anything to add. Colin, do you have anything to add?
No, nothing from my side.
Okay. Victor?
Oh, all clear. Thank you.
Okay, good. Yulia, anything to add?
Nothing as well. Thank you very much.
Good, thank you. The floor is yours now. Any questions, comments? Just raise your hand and I'll recognize you. Oh, this will be the first one without any questions. Oh, Rodrigo, yes, go ahead.
No, yes. Joseph, thank you for the briefing, for the presentation. But some comments. One TPA is not enough for us here. Our office structure has two, and we need the two. So this should be subject to a better conversation. I would like to join Caitlin the initial information that we have, that we would have a backup in Panama. We don't consider Vienna as a primary backup as a good option due to time difference. It might create a lot of challenges to the region if primary backup is at Vienna. Okay. On another point on the TMCs, I would say that we should keep all TMCs because most of our flights are local flights, and I'm not sure that a global TMC or whatever would be able to better serve us than having local TMCs. We don't think that we already work with 3 TMCs here, 4, maybe 5, because we have one in Bolivia, if that's not on your list, and it's not a challenge for us. And then I think that maybe Diana or Mayra can tell more, but does not make much difference for us. And it's even better because in Bolivia, we have a lot of local flights. Here, we have a lot of local flights from local companies. And I think that to keep the TMCs would be better. Maybe Diana or Mayra could tell more. And one last thing is I am not sure how this they would be the amount per travel. I understand, but how this would be connected in terms of budget to cover the costs. So I understand that there will be an amount to be charged, but would that go to a fund, and this fund will be replenished by FRMS? How is this funding mechanism would be created and utilized to cover the costs and to cover the charge of the travel? Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you, Rodrigo. So on the question of the need to have a backup in Panama, again, like I said, I don't want to say Panama is a backup. It would be like Bogota is the main office and Panama is a sub office. No, we don't look at it that way. We look at how many TPAs do we have in the region, regardless of where they're sitting. If they're both sitting in Bogota, that's fine. If one TPA is sitting in Bogota and another one sitting in Panama, again, that's fine. But they're both TPAs. No one is the backup of the other. They're all TPAs doing the same work, right? And the way it has been designed is because we looked at the workload, right? We looked at the workload and we calculated how many TPAs would we need in a region. And in your region, I think based on the workload, 2 TPAs, full-time TPAs are enough to do the commercial TRs for the entire year, right? Vienna being a backup TPA, backup TPO for all the regions. I mean, we do have, unless it's an emergency travel, but you know very well that the travel rules say travel requests are supposed to be submitted 21 days in advance, right? And therefore, the time difference of 8 hours will not stop Vienna from approving a travel request in Colombia. It will not happen. Again, like I said, unless it's an emergency travel. If it's an emergency travel, then that's something different. But it's a regular travel, there's no issue as far as I'm concerned. On the issue of the TMCs, you said keep all TMCs. Maybe that would be the eventual decision, which I personally am skeptical. But my colleague is going to reach out anyway to review the TMCs and see what's best, what works. If you say that you want to, let's say in Colombia you have 3 TMCs, you want to keep all 3 TMCs. But if all 3 TMCs have the same access to the local airlines, then why would you keep all 3? You can have one. Because all 3, there's no one with the competitive advantage over the other in terms of access to the airlines. Because if that is the condition, then that should not be the criteria. But if one of the TMCs probably is offering a better service or whatever, then that's the one that we should be working with. I don't see the advantage of having 3 TMCs if your concern is about having access to local airlines, because I'm sure all the 3 TMCs will have access to the 3 airlines. I think we should be looking at other criteria, their service, how they charge, whether they are transparent in terms of their transaction fees. Believe you me, there are so many TMCs out there who are pretending to be offering a free service to the UN. We all know they're in business. They cannot be offering a free service to the UN. There are other ways that they're making their money from. So all those things are going to be looked at, in more detail until we reach a decision. I think this is the TMC that we're going to be working with. If, as you're suggesting, eventually it ends up that we keep all TMCs for whatever reason, then so be it. But like I said, I'm a bit skeptical. On the cost recovery, my FMS colleagues can explain it better than I do. But the idea is that we to create a central fund where all the cost recovery money is going to be collected from, or will be collected in, and the costs will be paid from the same pot. So it will be an in and out, right? In the cost recovery, out the staff costs. That's how it's going to work. I see Kathleen has a question. Kathleen, go ahead.
Hi again, Joseph. I was wondering if you could share the slide that you had that showed the current workload of all of the TPAs across the region, because I think that adds up to much more than 2 people. And I think we need to be conscious of, I mean, I understand the professionalization, but I think we need to ensure that we're not expecting way too much of 2 individuals to cover the full region. And just to express again on having Vienna as a backup, I think, there's some use in that, but I know in this region, a lot of the tickets, the offers expire within 2 hours, and then they need to be reissued the next day. So I think it does make sense to have a backup within the region. even if that backup is not working 100%, it's just there as a backup. Over.
Well, I mean, I've taken note of that. We can go back and see how best we can do that, but I don't promise, because if we have a backup, the backup can only be provisioned if they're full-time TPAs. The process owners are not allowing us to provision part-time TPAs, right? So if you are looking at a part-time TPA who should just play the role of a backup because of a time difference, it's not going to work, because they'll not be given that role. Let me just pull out let me show you the screen. You asked about the data, the statistics. So can you see my screen, Kathleen?
Yeah.
Okay, so as you can see, the second row for quota, the average workload, average TRs per TPA is 3,200, right? Which is within the range, because we estimated that one TPA should be processing on average about 3,500 to 4,000 TRs per year. So this 3,200 per TPA is just about enough. It's actually just below the estimated range of 3,500 to 4,000. Right. So there's going to be enough. I mean, 2 TPAs are going to be enough, in short. Again, on the TPAs, I mean on the backup, the challenge will be that we will not be able to get the person provisioned a TP10 role, because they'll say it's not a full-time TPA, therefore we can't. Right? That's the unfortunate part. Who started? Diana and then Alana. Yes, Diana, go ahead.
Thank you, Joseph. Is to confirm about the TMCs. We don't have 3 TMCs to Bogota. It's just that the domestic flights in Colombia are restricted to 2 airlines that are not allowed to be issued through the common GDS. So that is an issue that we have in Colombia, that we can just have another travel agency in another country. But we will review that thing. And we have a similar situation with Bolivia. And I didn't see Bolivia trips and TMC in the document that you presented. I don't know where are the Bolivia trips included, because in Hub Bogota, I didn't see that country. Could you please check this?
Okay. So Bolivia, right? Okay.
Bolivia, yes,
All
is
right.
included. Should be included to Bogota's hub, or?
Yeah, of course. I mean, in terms of the hub, yes, Bolivia is part of the hub. Let me just share you the screen, which shows which has to the countries that you're covering. Yeah. Yeah, so we have I mean, this slide is maybe may not be perfect, but it just shows the countries that are being covered by the officers, right? So we were told that La Paz is no, it's basically Bolivia. We don't the one that we don't have is Venezuela, which of course is part of the the Bogota office. But yeah, Bolivia is there. In terms of the hub itself, it's there.
Okay.
And obviously, all the countries in that region, they're going to be, regardless of whether they're here or they're not. But as long as there's a travel that is originating from that region, they will be routed to the two TPAs that are going to be providing that service. Yeah, but I mean, if this data is not clean, we can always clean it up. But it doesn't change the basic principle that the travel is still going to be routed through either Bogota, if the person is in Bogota, or Panama, or whichever they will be physically located.
Okay. So
Yeah.
just to have in mind too, that we need to keep one travel agency in Colombia and one for Bolivia because of the restriction of the issue of air tickets within these countries.
That's good information to have. So basically, it's the same as the Brasilia, right? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
We'll take note of that. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Alana.
Hi, Joseph. I
Yes.
just want to make sure when you analyze these numbers, because we're talking about normal in compliant travel, right? About these two TPAs, because I think Kathleen said about the trips that have just 2 hours to approve here in Brazil because of the TMC. We have this problem too, and another problem is most of the time you have non-compliant trips is because our partners doesn't tell us about the mission in advance. So, and we have missions here in Brazil in a very remote areas, which not so much numbers of flights to there.
Yeah.
So I am afraid to have these problems with the approval of the TR, and we lose the flights or pay much more expensive flights because of this, because I don't think I want to be positive, of course, but I don't see this travel being approved at the same day we do the TRs. We're going to lose so many quotations and have to redo so many times those things and lose flights and pay more money for that. Because I'm looking here, if you look up to non-compliant trips, it's a lot. If you look at the numbers that I have here, I don't know if you have something to show us about the non-compliant trips, which is already more expensive than the compliant ones.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Alan. I think two issues there that you raised are the issue of, not sure whether the TR will be approved on time. I think you should have confidence in the people that the region will designate as full-time TPAs. I think it will be the other way around, right? I know for a fact that I remember being one of the having a conversation with one of the TPAs, and they're saying that they do their regular work during the day until 5 o'clock, and then when they go home, they open their laptops and start approving TRs, right? So this TR might have arrived, let's say, 10 o'clock in the morning, right? But the person, because they have their regular work to do, they only look at that TR 6 p.m. But that's only time they have, right? Compare that with a full-time TPA whose role is they open and then they start processing TRs. The moment they arrive in the office, they're processing TRs. I think it will be more efficient if you have somebody who is a full-time TPA than a part-time TPA. On the issue that you raised about non-compliant travels, I mean, this is a common problem. We all know that. But the solution will not be to add more numbers, right? We should not be adding more numbers. The solution will be, let's work on the root cause. What causes the non-compliance, right? And let's deal with that, but not to add more numbers to compensate for the non-compliance travels. we still have that. I mean, even if we have 10 people, let's say 10 TPAs, the non-compliance will still be there, right? They will still be there. So my point being that let's work on what causes the non-compliance and then try to mitigate that. We know that government officials don't always submit their documents on time, or maybe they keep changing the list all the times. But those are things that we have to live with. And the solution is not to add numbers, but the solution is to work closer with the government officials to provide the information on time so that the TRs can be approved on time. The good thing is that the TRs, I mean, the TPAs will be within the same time zone as you, especially in Brazil. If someone is in Panama or someone is in Bogota,
Thank you. Yes, as Elena said, I think that that is a situation, similar situation in almost all Latin American countries. Our operation at UNODC are made mainly in some remote areas. So the approving of the travel requests are almost not compliant in most of the cases. But I have a question about the TB20 role. It could be assigned to a fixed term contracts, or it could be assigned to like a contracts too.
Colin, you want to answer that?
Hi, Diana. The TB20 cannot be assigned to Leica or UNVs. It can only be to staff members. Just like the TB10, it has to be secretariat.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, you could have somebody now. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I'm top of my head. I don't know how many not non-commercial trips you have, but I mean, it wouldn't be a full-time job. Obviously, it would just be something like, I don't know, something to do in the background, maybe. Because they're not so important, the trips, as a commercial trip is.
Okay. Thank you, Colin. Any other questions? Yes, Fernando, and then Sana.
Thank you. Thank you, Joseph. I just to confirm if you are considering emergency situations, for example, in the weekend. For example, in case of Mexico, we have to face restrictions for environmental situations or security situations in the airports. So in many cases, we have had to review to modify travels in the weekend. How could process it in these cases?
Yeah. So how are you doing it? How are you doing it now? How do you deal with emergency cases in the present moment?
Okay. Thank you very much.
Fernando, I was asking a question. How do you do with that? Maybe we can learn from that and then include that in the business processes. Because, like I said, remember, we
this kind of situation is present. So it's not a common situation every weekend, but yeah, it's just to happen.
Okay.
I'm
Colin-
sorry, and we have a contact, emergency contact in the agency, right? But sometimes it takes more time that we want it, because in the airport the logistics with the air flights are more complicated, so we have to respond in as soon as possible, and I think is important to consider in the workflow.
Yeah. Okay. No, thanks for that. Colin and the team are taking note of that. I'm sure they'll include that as well. Sana, you have a question?
Yes, I do. On the TV20, can
Yeah.
you please confirm if a delegation of authority is also required for that role? Thank you.
Yes. Colin, you're the SLO. You answer?
Okay, let me just quickly check. I had it open earlier. It should still be there. TV20. Okay, it says here required delegation of authority approving officer. So yes, it does need a delegation of authority.
Okay, good. All right. Thank you. If there are no other questions, just one last item I wanted to share that I know that Alana in Brazil they're trying to pilot this hyper automation of especially for meeting participants. We are keenly interested in see how this is going to work. Maybe other offices could emulate that as well. If it works, it could save a lot of time in terms of uploading and creation of TRs. But this is something that I don't know how many people are aware that Brazil is piloting. Yeah, so Alana, if you at some point you share whatever experience you have with the hyper automation pilot, we'll be glad to learn from that. Maybe other offices could find it useful as well. Yeah. All right. Okay. Thank you. Back to you, Andrea.
Thank you, Joseph. I want actually to ask an answer, but maybe I'll make it in a form of comment so we close because it's 2 minutes. Also, I'll save you to give an answer that could be dangerous. No, it's the fourth briefing, and I think it was very useful. We are just scratching the surface of, I think, a rolling out plan that we need to work out with your lead, Joseph. I want to remain positive, like Alana said, I think. But from this meeting, two things emerged quite clearly. One, that I think we need 3 TPA in Latin America. I think the backup that Kathleen was referring to is a full-fledged person in Panama, in addition to the 2 we had initially discussed for Bogota. Then your cost recovery model, I don't know what was your parameter for it to make sense, but if it makes sense for UNOF to have 2 positions funded through this system, well, it's good. But I think that is the first feedback you could share with Chaya, I think, because we have a meeting on Friday to compare notes a bit and to understand the next step. The second is that in the assessment, I think we failed a bit to appreciate that, this change in setup will create the need possibly, for this TV20 that now somebody needs to learn and understand, and maybe it's not the former TPA who wants to do that. So I think this is creating, a sort of learning process and additional task distribution in a team that is already overburdened. And in addition to that, with this backup in Vienna, in most locations, we have this need, I think, to have this assistant to travel management sort of position. that I was discussing with Rodrigo. So I think, yeah, we need to meet, soon and regularly, because there are many facets of this rollout that, are challenging in my view. And I'll give you the chance to say a few words. I just say, I hope the Latin American team still in the World Cup will make it through. And the other one eliminated, I'm very sorry. Bye-bye.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Andrea. Okay. Thank you, colleagues, for your attention.
Thank you, Joseph, and thanks everybody for attending.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
colleagues.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.